We doing the vignette?
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comics Stella Morte, episode 46. Get to the bottom of it. And
What's up,
before we get into the episode, of course, we gotta always promote our stuff. So, Jason Alexander, Frogbreaker Studios here, and me, Crimson Owl Comics, Ronnie Gunter.
Damn, Ronnie, I was I'm barely ready, man. Give me a second. But y'all know what it is. What's going on, Kamikaze, man? Thanks for stopping by. Being here on time. Give me a minute. Let me get the website up. Ronnie is on it today, buddy. Hold on. I'm gonna do a screen share because that's what I always forget to do. Where's that? Here we go. All right. Y'all know what it is. Mini comic bundles, minicomicbundles.com. We are in month 8. We're starting some really, I don't know, I say this every month, but man, we did Kung Fu this month, Ronnie. Kung Fu. Can you believe it? And I love that story. Yeah, Drifter is nuts, man. So let me go over this. The regular business, $5 a month. Just pick up all the months, guys. $40 to get caught up on. That's $40. You got 3 stories a month, 24 books, 8 pages a piece, man. The covers are where the stories start. So, like I was saying, you got Drifter Volume 1. This is episode 1 of 6. This will see the end of the campaign. The Liaison 2, where you start to listen to this. Meet Douglas Norton, quantum physicist and harbinger of tribulation. What? In a mini comic, 1/8 size, guys?
Yeah.
Gilead City, Volume 2, man. This story picks up where the first volume or the first issue left off, with the person basically being burned alive by this dome screen. At Gilead City, and it's everybody lives forever until they need to be made an example out of. This issue, you kind of get behind the scenes of the organization that runs the whole world in this book, and it's a pretty fascinating journey, because now you get to see that the stakes are just as high for the people who are actually vessels as much as they are for people who are outside, who are anti-vessel sometimes.
Yeah.
If you don't know much about the minis, guys, we put 3 entire books up on the site for you to read through. We put up Hourglass number 3, one of the best interiors I think of any of the books in the whole set, and they're all really, really good. We put the drive-in up to give you an idea of the horror that we created so far, and there's more coming too. And also you got Green Roses, which was just a really cool story that kind of was born out of the Comic Jam Discord. Really, that's a really fun Discord. If you wanna, it offers a lot of cool opportunity. I haven't been on much recently, but I don't know, maybe I'll get back on one day. These are all the ones that you can buy. You can get all caught up. You got subscriber login, because if you buy the entire year at once, you do get access to webcomics that will be coming up on the website. There's a flash fiction story that I did on the website, and even if there's some projects in the future, you'll get to hear about them there too. Aaron will send you his physical year 2019 book, which I have and I love. It was really, really, really well done. Really cool story that went over 31 days. But that's what I got. It's something I'm very, very proud of, guys. If you haven't checked it out, at least go check out the site. Go to minicomicbundles.com.
Yeah.
What's up, Mr. Hodges? How you doing, man?
Yeah,
Look,
what's up, Gary?
I got one right here. This is the size, but please understand, like, this is not your everyday average mini comic artwork. Like, we got multiple panels on these pages. This story is, I don't know, like, I'm very excited to see what Aaron does with this story visually, because it's been an honor to see these minis come together. But I got my part done. As far as, I shouldn't say my part because it's all my part, but the writing is complete. Aaron is banging out the artwork, because the artwork and the production of the minis is all done by him, and he's killing it. Like, they're all so consistent. Again, I'm very, very happy with it. And there is news of a Fallbreaker Studios wrestling comic book that I'm very, very, very excited about. So check out Fallbreaker Studios Instagram. I'll keep posting more and more about that here recently. It's recently started to come together, so I'm very, very excited. Moving forward with that, finishing strong with the minis. Who knows what else, man? Like, I'm always up for a challenge. So that's what I got. I feel like I overstayed my welcome now, but I was on the spot right here, and I start. That's when I get to rambling. All right, man. What you got?
And of course, people, it is free to read. The 2 episodes of A Vengeful Heart is up on Topis now. Go there, comment, like it. It's a
subscribe.
Yes, yeah.
Tell them, Ronnie.
Any subscribers or likes or anything helps out the book to get more people looking at it and just move it up in the ranks.
Yeah, and it deserves to be ranked as high as anything on Topis, guys. It's a good story so far. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah,
horror is horror. Like, there's no mixing around it. That's a horror title, and it's really good.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna do any spoilers because I want people to see it, but Jason and Gary and some other people are gonna be like base models in the comic, and I worked on monster design for Gary. Oh man, it's coming out great. I'm just gonna say that. And I told Jason before the show came on what was the concept for it, and yeah, it's gonna be a fun story to write.
I'm excited. Yeah. Now,
pretty much.
Is that what you were talking about? Is that coming up in the next chapter?
Not yet, but this at the end of the first season, which is going to be episode well, when it's published, it's going to be issue 1. Gary's definitely going to be one of the main villains that you're going to see in the first issue. So yeah, for sure.
Man, life imitates art. Gary Hodges is the villain.
Yeah. So pretty much, what do you thought about this chapter?
This was a turn. This was straight up Vegas noir story. It was a detective story, like, through and through. Like, you, again, and I've said this for a couple of the chapters, you almost have to set yourself in a different mindset. And I even read like the first 3 pages, and then I went back and read them again, like, because it was like, as you start to like get the rhythm, it's real. It's very well written. It's a lot of it's very dialogue heavy this time around. I feel, which I didn't. Sure. I'm not saying I hated it, but it was a lot more to read in this chapter than it has been in a lot of the others. But no, just this was your detectives trying to make sense of a senseless murder was pretty much the rundown through this chapter. And of course you got your familiar faces showing up.
And this is, and just a spoiler, and people who don't want to see it, there is nudity in here, but I mean, it's a horror comic. Sometimes you're gonna have that.
Yeah, and it's also like Skinner Sweet's a little bit like his occupation is a little bit different than Cowboy these days, right? You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I mean, it's a mature audience book. Again, I feel like these kind of moments in this story is so different than in Hellraiser when we read it.
Yeah.
And it shows that with storytelling that's built around more than the horror tropes, like me and you and Gary were talking about a few weeks ago. You know, when a story is built with those instead of being used as tools as tools for your storytelling. It just, there's a difference. And because I'm not really off put by anything in this book, and it's been graphic and gruesome in a lot of spots, but it all feels like the story, you know, which is good.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at this point, you know, for the people that read along at this point, Skinner Sweets and Pearl are going under a new name because, you know, they're trying to like hide their identity because they're probably like hundreds of years old now and they can't go by
exactly. Yeah.
So he's known as Smoke now, and he's wearing like this white, pretty much pimp suit. You know?
Although Skinner Sweet is totally a pimp name, like you know what I mean. But this works too. Like he just changes with the times.
Yeah, and pretty much, you know, he's the detectives here, and you could tell, you know, guys, like I say, we come here and we give you a review of these books, but we don't do enough justice for them. That's why we always have the link in the description for you to go out there and read it yourself.
Yeah,
so you can get.
This is why we enjoy it. This is why we enjoy it. We ain't y'all. Like y'all go enjoy the book.
Yeah,
or don't, but I want to hear about it. No, I'm joking. I ain't trying to start them.
And the dialogue, unlike like you said, is very heavy here, but it's great because just looking at the facial expression here, you could see that he's trying to say this in like a sinister way, you know.
Oh yeah, it's
like, of course you do, Sheriff. I understand the wife's laid up and ready to pop. You got to get your fun somewhere. Am I right? You know, I could see him talk like very sinister like that. He's not like trying to say it in a good way.
You know,
what's up, Rory?
What's going on? You know who he kind of reminded me of, like, especially in this part. And you read it, like I feel like you nailed it with the voice that you did, because he reminded me of Harvey Keitel in Taxi Driver.
Yeah,
you know, exactly. Like he was ruthless. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was a pimp, but you could tell, like, you know, he's ruthless.
Yeah, so, even with the next dialogue, it's like, each girl's got her talents. So you just tell old Jim Smoke your fantasies. You know, you could see him like be like trying to bribe the detective to basically just forget about what's going on and go your own way.
Right, yeah. Yeah, come participate in my trafficking ring.
And pretty much, you know, most of the book where we're going to review, well, it's a big chapter, so we're dividing it up, but like I said, it's just the dialogue, and just it's great dialogue. I can't say it enough, but just I love how you're basically in one room and Albuquerque just does a great job getting different panel shots.
He changed his artwork though. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like that old West stuff. It's just like you said. It feels more like it's color, but it definitely feels very gritty detective drama.
Yeah, but I still like how the fact he finds ways to make a scene like this one where it's like impactful, like showing him smacking the hand away. But, you know, Albuquerque does a good job showing enough color, but always getting those black inks in, so you don't have to have like so much detail in every single panel.
Yeah, but it feels like shadow. It doesn't feel like he's blocking out. Like it's all good stuff.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And also too, I love Skinner Sweet's face here because you could tell it's Skinner Sweet, but it's one of those things like when you're designing a character and you know when your character is immortal, like how far do you sit down to do concepts on showing how this person might have been aged a little bit? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, because you make them older, but you can't make them too old because they're not going to die of old age. So they always have to look like the current adult. You know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure.
Just
and and if you guys don't remember here, he's the detective's basically questioning that woman who was with the old man that got killed by the vampire that had the wings. And she's just pretty much like just trying to tell him, hey, we had fun. I went my own way and he was alive there. And, we don't know who this big overgrown muscle dude is with Skinner Sweet, but, that's probably his backup or something. But just great work. Even this right here, I love this panel shot because you just have the close up of her face and then Skinner Sweet just in the back enough where you don't need to have like all this chairs or whatnot. You can have a solid background and it still makes it that dramatic interest because this right here with the first one, I could kind of see that. Like if they like you were saying with the noir, if you were like watching a noir old movie and you kind of had like the spotlight on the person being questioned, that's what it kind of gives me that vibe.
Yeah, and it's so like we talk about visual storytelling a lot here, and like you see she's being interrogated, but just where you put Skinner behind her, behind the detective, but in front of her, it just says that that Skinner is making sure that she knows that he's the one he's the one that's speaking for her. But the detective may notice that or he may not notice that. But it's very heavily implied that, we know that was not Skinner Sweet.
Yeah.
But we also you gotta imagine that he definitely knows more than what he wants to share with the detective.
I mean, if the detective didn't know, really thought that he didn't know anything, then why would he go there in the first place?
Exactly. So it's like, don't make sure you don't say, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it has like that old, like even, what is it? Godfather vibes to it. It's like, I'm going here. I'm going to try to find ways to like really out talk this person to give me hints, even though I'm not asking like really what's going on. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I like now we're just pretty much getting into like the whole conversation. Oh, it could be verified. In fact, you could just check in with the officer Hal in your precinct. He was with her at 6:30. So we know at this point that Skinner Sweet, but Smoke at this time, he has a lot of police officers probably, under his authority.
Pimping is pimping. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, he's like, I know where she was because I give her schedule. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it definitely has like that Godfather vibes to it because during this time, you would have like a lot of mafia stuff going on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
But it is great because we've seen Snyder how he was writing like in the 1920s and then he mixed it up into like this time of age. Like it's really great how
different now. Yeah,
it's different but in a great way. And as a writer for comics, me and you both, it's really fun to just sit down and see how far we can make a character evolved, especially if we know they're going to be like showing like a lot of their like life as like either a child or pretty much what their life leads up to
Yeah,
the big event to what happened.
yeah, and it's like sometimes I find myself just like enjoying watching them
Hmm.
change, like
Yeah.
because I don't know, like sometimes when you just let it go, you're doing it like you're just kind of behind the wheel. You know what I mean? The car kind of goes where it does. So
Yeah.
I'm very, like I was telling you before, I'm very curious to know
Hmm.
what led. I mean, Skinner's always been a crook, but like what led him to being like a kingpin and
Yeah. And
potentially has created a whole different
mhm.
species of vampire.
Yeah, and we don't even know if it was him first off and he just bit someone and they ran off. We don't know, you know.
Look at
But
what happened to Pearl. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
exactly.
nobody knew she was going to become a vampire.
Hmm. But it's just great because we saw Skinner Sweet as like this hero, and then later on in the series, he became an anti-hero. He's like, I'm gonna help and do good, but at the same time, if you want me to help you to save the humanity, you got to pay me something, and that's pretty much his
Yep.
attitude. Nothing comes without a price.
Right.
And this panel right here, I really love because if it I have to say it, if anybody who hasn't read my comic, I do stuff like this, and like where you have like one character that's gray and everything else is like colored,
Yep.
and it just I don't know, just I like how this was drawn because you literally see him gray and then everything else is colored, but you see him as like the focal point,
Right.
and just the and just the
Exactly.
and just the dialogue that goes with it too is just great. It's like, just tell Officer Powell I can't wait to see him again. Will you, Cash? Yeah, Chief, tell him. Will you? And, you know, he's pretty much at this point like pissed off because he doesn't know what's going on. And he visited Smoke because he thought he could trust Smoke to give him answers.
It's the perfect representation of him being stone faced. You know what I mean? Like these undead characters or two of the undead characters in the back. I assume this other guy is some type of vampire.
Yeah.
And it's affecting the detective, his partner here. You can tell, but it's like he's trying to remain so low that he's literally become stone. Like
Oh,
that is
you know what it
nuts, man. That's crazy.
the perfect example, like you were saying, like everything else is colored, but like they're giving him the runaround. When you painted him gray like this, it seems like they're giving him the cold shoulder.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And I like that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, but pretty much, it's heavily dialogue, but the girl, she just couldn't stop to come in. She's like, "We're coming for you, Smoke." Like the detective, he's just trying to be calm and trying to get him to like pretty much like slip by saying something that he's not supposed to. But no, this woman is furious and she wants him to take down because she's like, "We know that you're at fault for this man's death." Because you got to
I think
remember.
he knows. I think he suspects.
Go
I
ahead.
think he suspects that something supernatural is happening.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I
for
think he
sure.
suspects that Skinner is different,
Hmm.
but he's just kind of playing along with the whole like what could be causing this murder like this.
Yeah. But man, I really like this panel here. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if it's not a horror panel, this would be like a great poster because man, it's just not just
This looks
the
very
facial features.
Tarantino. Yep.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yep.
And man, like I wish we could get Albuquerque on the show. That'd be great. But it's like he does such a great job on drawing guns and drawing them not just like playing directly at you, but trying to find like the perfect angle with
Yep.
different shots of it. Because throughout like even volume one, when they had guns, he always tried to like, you know, go outside the box. It's like, oh, what would the gun look like if you had it at this angle or that angle? And just really great stuff. Like as a comic book artist, guys, especially if you're going to write it yourself, don't do something that not going to be able to accomplish, but you have to always go beyond the last step that you make, because you got to grow in life as an artist. You can't always be like, well, I'm just going to stay here and not work on faces or work on feet.
Yeah, I love the speed in this picture where you can see the trace of his cuff on his shirt, and you can see the gun almost looks like it's wobbling as he's correcting his aim. You can't get much more motion in a panel with two characters and one item.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
Just stellar. It really is.
Yeah. And pretty much here now we're at, outside with the characters, and they're pretty much trying to gather their thoughts. And the Chief is like, what the hell was that in there? And she's like, why don't you tell me, Chief? You're barely questioning the girl. You let smoke walk all over us. And that's when you find out that that his father died. And he only had his father, and I guess his mother was not around. So literally Sweet, known as Smoke right now, adopted him as his own child and raised him so he wouldn't be thrown in an orphanage and probably be thrown around from family to family. So, with the detective, he knows something's going on and Sweet knows the answer, but at the same time, that's why with cops or anyone that works in the law enforcement, they tell that, hey, you're too this case is too personal for you. You need to step away and let someone else take control because you're not thinking straight. And that's what's pretty much what's happening with him. He's like, this guy was a second father to me, but I got to follow the law. But at the same time, my emotions are getting too involved into it that I'm not thinking straight.
Right. No, I don't think that he's saying that Smoke is his father. Is his stepfather. I think he's saying that the man that adopted him is the number one suspect. The number one suspect in that murder is Smoke, but he has to investigate Smoke without ripping his head off because he suspects Smoke in killing his father.
Yeah, but I thought he raised him as his father.
No, I don't think that's what he's saying. I might be reading it wrong, but that's not what I got from it.
Yeah, because it did say that man adopted me when I was 6 years old and took me in and saved me from a life of orphanage and raised me like his own blood. You think it's easy for me to stand there? So, yeah.
Right. I think he's saying that that's where his father died. His father died right where they're standing right now, where where he suspects Skinner Sweet killed his father, and he had to go into the building that his father died in front of and interrogate Sweet about a different murder, but not react.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's why I got it. But I understand what you're saying too.
Yeah, because I mean, the dial. I mean, you could take it for both ways. I could definitely say that because the fact is that, like you said, his father did die there, and it's the detective. He doesn't know what's going on, and he's just pretty much wanting answers.
Yeah.
Man, I love the facial feature in this one.
Yeah.
Like the anger in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. But with you so far, what would you give this chapter so far? What you read into it?
Okay. So I can't really. Okay, this chapter is dense. Like this chapter is like if you had a piece of fudge the size of a piece of cake. is really, really good. But to be honest, like about probably 2/3 of the way through, it became it was a lot to read. And it didn't have I felt like it kind of lost its rhythm in a lot of exposition after this part. Like this part I enjoyed. Up to this point, I was hooked. But I felt like it was like going up on a roller coaster. But like every time you think you're getting ready to take that big plunge with that big action that you get in a lot of these chapters so far, you don't really get it. You don't get it. I know that the story is different, and I'm not like, I don't think it was a bad chapter, but it's definitely a long chapter that you have to read all the way through to get to the next chapter before you really appreciate it. And I think it's really long. I think it's really long to accomplish what it will accomplish. But this is a very long book too. So in the grand scope of things, it's probably a lot of important things that we may not really, because it's like the world has changed from the old West. Like this is now establishing this new noir detective mobster pimp casino world. It's like it's turned into Grand Theft Auto.
It's just not that, but I feel that with the series as it goes on, that we're gonna get a lot more like backstory, and the detective's pretty much probably gonna be like a major character in this volume.
Yeah, like they're building a world that is like advancing generations. I can only imagine with as many chapters as in this book that we don't get to present times at some point. But I'm here for it. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. But this because the pacing in this chapter was so different, and it didn't have those big chunks of action through the story like the other chapters have. I have to rebalance myself again, you know. But not bad. I'd say 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I would definitely give it 6.5. It's definitely one of those things like, you're getting a lot of backstory, but at the same time, is it needed for throughout the whole like chapter? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's a lot. Like these parts have been in all the chapters, but it feels like this would have been like this first section at the interrogation. Then we would have gotten to see the action of what happened to the detective's father with Skinner Sweet. And then it would have been, the next chapter would have been the aftermath of the detective and the other detective outside talking. That would have been the beginning of a whole other chapter. It is just very, very it was a long chapter to read, and I didn't, to be honest, I'll have to read more to appreciate it. I'm not gonna say I didn't enjoy it because I write very long-winded as well, but I enjoy the vampire action of the book.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
And I didn't get it.
It didn't have a lot of action in it.
Yeah.
Even with the last chapter, it had like a bunch of dialogue in it, but like you saw the beginning with like the man sleeping with the woman, and then all of a sudden a vampire came in and drained him of all of his blood.
And a vampire that looked totally different. And now maybe that's it. Like maybe this is on purpose, like to make you like want to see that vampire again. Because that's what I was here for. I thought the vampire was gonna come out and they were gonna have to fight it down when they left out of Sweet. Like that's what Sweet would call to kill them after they left out. That's what I expected. But it's like, what? You know what I mean? Like you're constantly building up to something that I didn't get paid off yet, and I'm ready. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Because even with the first volume, it had its slow parts, but each chapter had a lot of action in it as well.
Yeah, a lot of action. Yeah.
So hopefully that this second volume picks up just like the first one did.
I'm not worried. Like it's been so good that it's like, of course, I couldn't stop now because I'm fully invested in the story. So I'm confident that it'll pick up again. But I just, I'm being patient and letting the world get established because we knew the Old West, but we don't know this world yet. So
yeah, exactly.
Maybe we'll find it necessary in the next few chapters.
Yeah. So pretty much now here we got Pearl, but now she's known as Felicia. She's at her hotel and everything. She's still mad at the detective on not pretty much like taking in Smoke or killing him for the crimes that she knows that he did. And right here we just get more dialogue. It's better not now to get in. It's been a long day and something tells me tomorrow's not going to be any shorter. So at this point we see Sweets looking out the window, and I love that shot as well because it's enough of him to see, but you still have like the dark shadow in there.
He's so creepy, and he's such a pimp that he's peeking through curtains that he don't even have to hold. Like that's like a super pimp, right? Like, how do you get somebody else to be sneaky for you with you? It's just a very cool visual because I kept looking at it and saying like, yo, like, why does his hand look backwards? But then I realized like that's the muscle that's holding the blind open for him. It's pretty cool touch. Yeah.
And the thing is, I wish we would have seen Sweets have at least some type of candy in his hand during this episode because he didn't have candy at all. I'm like, what? He's always having like licorice or something in his hand.
He probably switched to Tic Tacs. I don't know if Tic Tacs existed yet, but he's like smaller candy.
Yeah, pretty much now we're just getting like a newspaper. Read in the newspaper the other day that people on the coast are starting to call Las Vegas Sin City. And
that's awesome.
I like that. And I also like too the effect that he did with the paper. I mean, you could see that it's like newspaper, but I really love the texture that he put there.
It looked like, I mean, number one, like you can read the real headlines, which is really cool. Like that's a cool touch. Like that was one of the things that we enjoyed in Gary's book was his, the headlines and like the old dossiers and all that stuff was so cool. And like this has that same element to it. So
just like they did with the War of the Worlds, with like going on the radio and broadcasting that, and people are like freaking out that the world was going to end.
Yeah,
I guarantee it, as well made as Gary made his, it would be funny if someone picked that up and actually thought it was real.
Imagine dinosaurs versus Mars bots being on the History Channel in like 80 years and people saying like this was like a real dinosaur.
Right.
And I'm like, I know that guy. People just like, shut up, old man.
We'll get more to the story, but we always got to talk about our friends because we got to promote them as much as we can.
Yeah, but not only that, man, like Dinosaurs and Mars Boss is good. Like it's a good book. Like it's just good. But no, like he's getting sealed in. He's sealing himself in.
Yeah, because they're pretty much like darking out the windows, so that way they don't burn, I guess. But pretty much, I wonder if this is or what at point, because now we know that Pearl is in Sin City, but like, where's her boyfriend that was from the first chapter? We really don't see that.
I mean, that's how many years? Like he's got to be. Yeah. He would have aged. Like he's probably older then, like for that time. So who knows if he died of old age, if he's just a old man that can't keep up with her anymore, because
I think she turned him into a vampire, didn't he not? Or maybe she didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta look back again. Honestly, that's the first time I even thought about him. It was when you just said that. I was just in the story, you know.
Mm-hmm. But I really like the dialogue here. Looking out at the city now, though, it's hard to imagine any of it going away ever. Like you could see you could see him talk and then have like that noir music going on because he's
Yes,
basically talking it in his inner head.
Super Sin City, like
Mhm.
100%, like that whole segment.
Yeah,
Like you could
for
hear
sure.
him taping the newspaper to the window.
Mhm. And now, like here, we pretty much have like I think this is the detective or who this is because this kind of throw me off a little bit. Like, did you get a grasp of like who these
I
people are?
honestly like this was where I was just kind of like reading it
Lost?
to get done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like again, this book is so good, y'all. I don't want to
Oh,
be
so
overly negative.
he's a deputy. So I mean, like I said, we had these two characters thrown in there, and it was like at the end, so we don't know who they are, but we understand that this is a deputy and probably like his father or older gentleman that he looked up to. But definitely, they're throwing in a lot of new characters. But
Maybe
even with,
this.
go ahead. Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm muted.
Your
Oh,
mic's, yeah.
there we go. I said maybe. I said, is this the detective and his dad before his like? Is this a flashback?
Maybe it is. Who knows? I
But
mean,
I hate to sound like that, guys. Like we try to read where it's all fresh. Like we try to like
mhm.
go through these stories, and like we have normal lives. Like I didn't really like right here. Like if I didn't
Oh,
feel
it's his
gripped enough
grandpa.
to really, I
Mhm.
see. Like I just
Yeah,
I didn't understand it, but like now I understand a little bit better.
hmm, for sure. But yeah, I mean, also too, I just love the scenery that they got going on. But it's one of these things like I was caught off guard, not because of who they are, but you had like Pearl and her identity now, and you had Sweet, and then all of a sudden, bam, we just got hit with like this guy going to see his grandfather. So it was
Yeah,
like a big like twist. But we're probably gonna see more
yeah.
of
Like
what's
where
going
are
on with
they
these
though?
people. Oh,
Like
they're probably in the mountains or somewhere in
yeah, like why are they in front of a
Nevada.
cave? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, what's going
Hmm.
on here? Like, what kind of club is this? Is that a dog crate beside them? Like, what's
Yeah.
happening?
Hmm. But yeah, it's just not too much going on. It's just pretty much, I guess, his grandfather was a cop, and he took over after representing his his hero here. And that's
Yep.
pretty much what's going on. The dialogues going on is like the grandfather's just happy that he's a cop now, but then what he's saying here is that that's what everyone thinks. They think being a cop is about punishing people for doing wrong, but that's not true. It isn't. It's about believing in people, believing in the good. So yeah, great dialogue here. So
Mhm.
he's just probably teaching his grandson that hey, there's more too about being a cop than what you see on TV and then holding a badge and beating up a bunch of bad guys. And it's a good dialogue because maybe this, like you said, this is like the detective when he was young. But yeah.
See, like looking back at this now, like
Mhm.
I know this is all good.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm greedy. You know what I mean? Like maybe
Mhm.
I'm greedy. Like maybe I just was caught off guard by this being more story driven than action driven. You know?
Yeah. But I mean it's one of those things that we as as we gone by and do the show, sometimes we have to look at everything with a fresh eye because we just look at the books that we reviewed in the past and it's like, wow, that's really good. And we have to just not compare it to the last ones.
Yeah.
But pretty much now, like I said, we just flash forwards from back to back, and now it's like my father was right. No matter how much I want to, no matter how much I try, I haven't given up on this place yet. And pretty much now you do see that the detective is here and this is his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just pretty much probably having a dream or a flashback of when he was younger, because now you
Right.
see that younger guy was the detective, and that's him, and this is him now. And she's expecting a baby, so
Mm-hmm.
who's knows. And like also too, there's just so many characters that we know in the first volume that was alive, and we're like, are we going to see them in later volumes, or are they going to appear up here? You know what I mean?
This is such a dope panel.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that is such an awesome picture.
Hmm.
I love the colors. The palette is like money.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Like, I hope I
Hmm.
make one of these one day.
Oh man, believe it, you will.
That is awesome.
And now a flashback back to Pearl. She's just pretty much doing study, and I guess she's really like trying to question, like, was it a vampire that killed them? Because she's just trying to find answers just as much as everyone else.
Yep.
And just more dialogue. Like I said, I we could read all the dialogue, but it's one of those things that you guys just have to go out there and get a
Just
good read yourself, because I could try to do all the voices I can, but you're still not going to be able to grasp it as much unless you're reading it. So
this is like the only word to describe it is dense. Like, you know what I
mhm.
mean? Like, it
Yeah,
really was
it's
page
basically
wise, it
like,
really wasn't much longer than any of the other chapters we've done.
mhm,
But it
yeah,
was a lot. There was a lot of like
story.
productive conversation
Mhm,
that you had to
yeah,
read.
mhm,
It was a good story, but it was a lot. It was a lot to read.
yeah, for sure. And pretty much here we're just having more dialogue, and we just pretty much, what is it, apology accepted. Just try to remember something: everyone who joins the vassals has a personal grudge to settle. No one joins who doesn't. So he's just pretty much trying to tell her, be aware of the situations you get into, because this is Sin City. This place is full of like unexpected
Yeah,
dangers around every corner.
yeah. This is not a great place to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah.
But if you hear like almost like you recognize you have to be part of a gang to survive
Yeah, pretty
out
much.
there. Yeah.
Hmm. And Pearl here, she's just really confident in herself. And then boo. But let's face it, she's a vampire. She knows someone was probably watching her at this point. And who is it? It's Skinner Sweet.
Hmm.
And how long was he hiding there behind her? And she even said, "What do you want, sweet?" So, she knew it was him all that long, no matter the how old he looked or the new get-ups.
Right.
Mhm. And even here he's like, it took me a minute to put it together, to who realize who you were. And if you remember, she had different color hair as well.
Yeah. Yeah. She's changed a lot.
Hmm. And even he said, I could smell him on you though. And we're like, okay, the only person I could think of is her boyfriend that she basically teamed up to take out the vampires in Hollywood, the ones from Europe. That's the
Hmm.
only person I could think of. But
Sure.
pretty much Sweet is just coming here to like welcome her, and like the guy said, and to remind you of that deal I have with your little group, which is immunity. We can't touch you. Now it ain't a shame. Night night. So it's like, okay, And this is a great panel to end off of. That's why I left it here instead of breaking up this chapter in 2 parts.
Yeah.
But when he said that comment, about the immunity, basically the deal that they made, like, is he talking about like somehow maybe Pearl's boyfriend got killed in between like the first story and the beginning of this one? I
Yeah,
hope
like
they go into detail about that.
why would she make a deal to where she can't touch Skinner Sweet? And
Mm-hmm.
how does that work with her being? How does that work with her being like a detective?
Yeah,
trying to take him down for a murder. Is she gonna have to help him get out of it? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, for sure. But overall, just I like that. It's a good chapter. I would just expected like to have a little bit more like suspense and horror in there, but I do like the whole like the noir vibe that they're trying to give to it.
I'm very confident that we'll get the payoff.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for it.
Yeah, because like this series goes on for a long time. Like besides the noir, like we're here now, I think in like volume 3, when we get to that point, like it takes place in like World War II and in Japan. So it's just going to be really great to see throughout this whole series how not just Albuquerque the artist, but how Snyder like sits down to approach each story and try to relate it to that time period and to make it different from the last.
I'm honestly excited about just learning about seeing what different types of vampires show up. Like, I'm excited for them to acknowledge that the American vampire is actually a werewolf, because that's the way it has to be. It's the only thing that really makes sense from them visually. Like, but where does this gargoyle vampire come from? You know what I mean? Because it's definitely not built how the 2 American vampires that are still alive in Pearl and Sweet, they don't look like that gargoyle vampire. So what created the transformation?
For sure.
And is that a hybrid of the European vampire and the American vampire? Right.
And so before, so that's the end of the episode there. But before we leave, I thought I should share a little bit of process of my episode 3 going on.
Oh yeah, nice. Let's see it.
So Gary and Jason, they both have seen like a lot of these like pages already, but I just thought let's try to do it. So let me see here. All right. Share screen. Here we go. There we go, guys.
Yeah. Look at that. Who's that guy down there?
Yeah. If anyone doesn't know, like I said, I'm taking people who want to be in the horror comic and drawing them in different ways. And that's Frank right there. That was Frank.
I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, that just having some fun, guys. And, why not have your friends in the horror comic? Because let's face it, you need face models, and it's just so much funner to like, instead of draw someone different, you're putting your friends in there. So
oh yeah, man, that's awesome.
Yeah. But before we leave, Jason, you have anything to promote?
Minicomicbundles.com. Check out my Instagram, because that's where I kind of post that's where I post all of my updates and artwork and anything that I'm writing. I enjoy it all. But yes, minicomicbundles.com. Oh, sorry, Ron, go ahead.
I was going to say, yes, Frank does debut in part 3. Your character, Gary, will be a little later in the issue, but yeah, it's going to be fun. Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, no, I was going to say minicomicbundles.com, Fallbreaker Studios on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe some TikTok shit coming soon, too. Who knows?
Hey, I mean, I got Twitter. I try to promote on there as much as I can remember because you forget all the platforms that you have.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And also, guys, next week, I tried to post it on Instagram and get it out there, but next week I'm gonna be on Peter Palmiotti's show, and I'm gonna talk about like horror and talk more about A Vengeful Heart. And even if you don't go there just for me, Peter is an awesome guy. Me and Jason both known him.
Great artist, yeah.
For at least a couple years by now.
It's been that long? Yeah, I guess so. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I met Peter from the 100s and stuff like that. But man, that he is almost close to 1,000. So go subscribe to him.
Yeah, go subscribe to Peter Palmiotti's channel. He does some pretty dope stuff, man. He does. He's an awesome inker. But yeah, good dude to know for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, see you all next week. Thank you, Gary, Kamikaze, Dory. Appreciate everyone.
Y'all are awesome, man. Thanks for stopping by and listening to us blabber on about some comic books, man.
Right. Peace.
Later.